Have a front row seat to the untold stories as we talk about how to live life on your terms. You're officially part of the inner circle. Welcome to Courtside with Courtney. And don't worry, I comped your ticket. Welcome back to another episode of Courtside with Courtney. I might be the most excited I've ever been to have you on the podcast. So those of you guys who aren't familiar, because obviously you may be living under a rock, but we're from two different generations to an extent. I'm like over 10 years older than you. So I feel like obviously everyone in your generation knows who you are, but there could be a good amount of people following me that are unfamiliar.
Definitely. I was thinking about this when I was talking to Henry.
Yeah.
Like just the two different audiences meeting of just being like, yeah, you're bringing a whole different audience that I'm bringing.
Totally.
Meeting in the middle.
A meeting of minds.
in the middle.
So for those of you guys who don't know, my guest today, this is Miss Kennedy Eurich, you guys. And I will say this humbly, I do not watch a lot of people. I really don't. Like I don't consume a lot of people's content because I'm creating content all day long and I don't have time and I just don't watch a lot of people. I watch you religiously. Like I fuck with you so hard. It's like new video and I'm like on it. Like I love you.
I still remember the first time we ever met was at your Dibs event. It was right when Dibs was launching.
Yes.
In
you had
Austin.
just hit 1 million followers.
Yes, just hit 1 million followers. I had just moved to Austin. And I remember my friend from back home, like my childhood best friend, she's a sister that's older than us by like 10 years or so. She's like maybe like 30. She's in her 30s. Either way, she was like, Kennedy was with Courtney. That was like and that was like one of those things that was like she was like, that was I made it for Kennedy. Like seeing Kennedy do that, she was like, oh, she made it. And I was like, that's so crazy because for Ashley and whatever, everyone's like, just not, with the new generations and everything like that.
Two different worlds.
Two different worlds. And she was like, oh shit, like this is Kennedy's job. That was her thing, like solidifying my career in her head. She was like, oh, she's with Courtney Shields. Oh, okay, this is a job now.
Yeah. And it was like, that was right about the time when I like found out who you were too. It was actually like at that event. And I was like, oh, she's really cool. So I started looking you up and then I just was like, this is.
Ever since then.
No, like I love you. Yeah. So I watch your content and I really do not watch many people. So
I love that. I'm going to wear that like a badge of honor.
High fucking praise around here. And I would say that you're like the queen of being unfiltered. I feel like you share things in real time very much, just like whatever you're thinking. And I really like that and admire that. And I like aspire to be more like that in a lot of ways because I think that I said this too when we were talking off camera. This industry's like low-key beat me down a little bit. I think like I now overthink everything I say and I'm trying to get back to the place where I just don't give a fuck.
Right. And I think it goes in waves too. Even just like in like the 3 or 4 years now, I think since I've been doing it like full time. You do see like the waves, even in those short 4 years, how things go up and down and what's popular and it's not
bitches
popular.
Are mad.
And bitches are always going to, and that's the thing though, that's consistent. Bitches are always going to be mad. But
For
like,
sure.
I feel like when you started, and you have to educate me like a little bit more on this. I feel like when you started, it was a time of like aesthetic everything. Like
totally.
People lived picture perfect lives on social media. Right?
100%. It was very like, everything was like, you put it in your little like Visco.
Yes.
And everything was like edited, perfect. Like
yes. And that's so fascinating because like when I started, it was, I feel like
the opposite.
Yes. Like Tana Mojo kind of had like broken the ice, I feel like down for people just posting content and being kind of unfiltered. And that was the first time I saw it and got kind of used to it. And then TikTok just with the casual posting made it so much more normal. When do you feel like you got close to your audience?
This is so crazy. So I started before Instagram had Instagram stories.
Yeah.
The
I'm like trying to do my math
era.
on that. I'm like
no, literally, like I was digging up fucking dinosaur bones. But I swear, so I remember I had this like very vivid memory of only posting photos. Obviously, that's all it was. And then
and
Instagram
one photo
stories
that
came
too.
out. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, people are going to hear me talk. And like, is my voice what people think my voice is going to be? Is this going to be better? Is it going to be worse? Like, this is so weird.
So people never heard you really talk before Instagram stories?
No, how would they?
I wasn't sure if you were like, if you ever did YouTube or if you dabbled in that.
Not at the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was just like silent motion picture film. Okay. And then Instagram stories happened. And I remember like my first one, I was like, this is so much pressure. Like
you're like sweating.
What am I going to sound like here? And then that's really when I felt like I got super close to my audience because you actually sitting there talking.
That's so insane to think because I feel like my audience, like from the time I started social media, has like literally know what my butthole looks like. Just because
literally.
It's been that open and honest that it's insane that like you got like this following based off people just like looking at your life through pictures and was like, I want to aspire to be that or I want to. Did you notice it was influenced? Like when did you realize
It was more like tips and tricks in the beginning. And I was I had a full blown like blog. So I would be like sharing like beauty, like makeup tips and tricks. So it was less like they wanted to be me at the time and more like, I think I was giving them tangible like takeaways and things that they could do. So I was like providing value.
That was back when influencers were like educated as fuck. I always laugh at my manager because she managed, or she used to be an assistant for an influencer like back OG days. It was like Damsel in Dior or some shit. Like that's like when the name.
She's OG as fuck. JC.
Yes, JC. What like did you have a name or was yours Courtney Shields at the time? Because bitches had crazy names.
BYO beauty, bitch. Bring your own beauty.
Shut up.
Swear to God.
See, is that like, and when did you start
be
kind
the
of
best version of yourself? You know how people get canceled for their tweets now?
Oh, yeah.
No, my tweets back in the day, I was like, be yourself. Like light and love.
You're like butterfly emojis.
My bitchiest tweet was like karma. Like I swear. I just was like, oh, I ate with that one. Like
you're like,
karma.
They're going to shut up after this.
That's it. I was like, bye. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. The name thing always kills me every single time.
Yeah. BYO Beauty. That's actually what Dibs is registered under.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the LLC?
Mm-hmm. Because we really started with that. And then obviously it's not where we landed. Thank God.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you didn't have like a business. You have a couple businesses though, right?
Well, I have obviously a beauty brand, Dibs. And then I have a jewelry line, which like people are always like, what happened to Bo in Brooklyn? Nothing. I just don't have the bandwidth.
Yeah.
And the price of gold is actually so expensive that I felt bad. It was like people wanted it to be a little bit more affordable and just like physically can't do it. And so just Dibs ended up being like such a full-time job too. I feel like that's took over.
The hard part with jewelry. I was like, I always think I would love to get into jewelry, but also with me, I'm like, I want jewelry that I can wear in the shower. And nobody ever,
live in it.
Nobody ever wants
real.
to pay for jewelry you wear in the shower. They're like $200, $300.
No, but it's
like,
worth it.
It is worth it because I never have to take my shit off.
And you also don't have to repurchase it 6 times.
That's the other thing.
Like it's gonna rust and then you have to repurchase it.
Earrings are something I will always be having a cheap hoop in, unfortunately.
The big one.
Yes. Yeah. Even my little ones, I'm pretty sure right now are like Amazon, but you know.
And the bigger the hoop,
the bigger the hoe.
Do you think it's true? Because I wear some big hoops.
I wear some big hoe. And you know what? I'm like looking back at all the times that I like when I've been in my eras of wearing the bigger hoops. I was on the prowl. Them. Yeah, same. Like I was on the prowl. I still will do a chunkier hoop. Yesterday wore pearls. What are you going to say about big ass? I was wearing pearls from Forever. Not very demure, but very demure in the sense of the pearls. However, these Forever 21 ass pearls were like hanging off my earlobes yesterday. That I was like, what does this say about me?
So you recently majorly hard launched your boyfriend. Let's talk about it because you've soft launched and hard launched people
all the time, unfortunately. Like,
is it like soon into it? It's like, let's go for it. Like full send. Do you regret it? Are you glad you did it? Like not with this one specifically, but holistically.
I think at one point I kind of like played my cards close to my chest and I like didn't want to share who I was going out with anyone because
it gives them clout.
It gives them clout.
Sucks.
Also, you see like the ugly side of social media come out like whenever you do share someone. I think sometimes there's like either people from their past come out or it hurts whenever you see people that you love get shit on by other people on the internet because listen, I love ugly men. It's like a pattern for me. Not my new man is not ugly, but I love a conventionally unattractive man. And like those comments are brutal. Like I'm like trying to save him from that because
don't you feel like this is gonna piss a lot of people off? But don't you feel like when you give an ugly guy a chance, like they always fuck you over though? Every time.
Every single time.
They're ungrateful.
That's the thing. They are ungrateful. And that's why I've realized now it's like you just have to like go. Every man is probably gonna piss me off and do me dirty. I might as well get the hot ones.
Oh, for sure.
The last one who did me dirty is
those do
criminal.
Dirty too, from experience.
Yeah. They just all suck, I feel.
Yeah.
And that's what I was telling Courtney. I was like, I'm actually scared because my boyfriend right now has been so good, but it's still so early on.
How long has it been?
Oh my God. I think I met him beginning of June and then it was instant. Like
he's kind of giving me like husband energy right now though.
We're always
not going to lie.
No, he is giving husband energy. And I think the
man is in the kitchen.
The man is in the kitchen. He's cooking up food for me, which I can't really cook. So I'm all about that. He has a drawer at my house now. That's like an insane thing.
We love a man that provides value.
Exactly. And he does. And he's so supportive. Like sometimes it's like, oh my gosh. Cause I'm like, oh my God, he's 29. I'm 24. I'm like,
that's a good age gap.
It is a good age gap. But sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like when we started to date, I wasn't thinking I was trying to get married. And then I was like,
that's kind of when it happens though.
Exactly. And
then wait, like I'm not advocating for that right now because like I've been there and not the vibe.
You're going to see a ring on my finger in a year.
Stop.
No, I'm not. I'm just joking.
I need to meet him, like put him through the ringer.
You do. Well, because they have a mutual friend.
I have a sixth sense for this shit now.
Yeah,
though.
you can feel it out now. See what you're feeling from him.
Like absolutely. Like I can tell right away.
And that's what I need because I'll like think that somebody's really great, but usually when they're that good, I'm like, there's something lurking behind.
Give it 3 months.
Has it been 3 months? No.
If like anything's being hidden, like
it'll come to the surface.
it'll unravel and you'll know.
When I did post him, thank God I got no DMs about him.
No hey girly DM.
No. And usually no matter who it is, like you'll get something. Even if it's like someone literally went home with him after a one night stand, girls will be so like,
it's
hey.
also, that's so weird. Like, cause I don't want to know that. Like, why would you ever tell anybody that?
None of my fucking business. And that's the thing. I feel like I get so many DMs that I don't want for, I don't ask for. It's against, I learned so many things against my will. And I'm sure you can relate to that where
ignorance
you're like,
is bliss. Like,
I don't want to know.
Unless it's present day, don't tell me.
Don't tell me. Unless he's like doing something right now.
No.
I don't care what he did 3 months ago. Like,
no.
That was a different person.
I also don't want them to know what I did 3 months ago.
No, I know. I'm going to keep my demons to myself as well.
Oh, for sure.
And it's always kind of unfair where it's like, oof, like I feel like I'm learning out so much about them and super personal details through that. One time, my assistant's friend was visiting in town, posted a picture with me. I get a DM from these girls. It was like a voice memo too. Like the girls were together. And they're like, I just want to let you know that your boyfriend shit my bed, which first of all,
shit the bed.
First of all, I've shit the bed. So I take that like very, I'm
shit
like.
the bed. Wait, which boyfriend?
But it wasn't a boyfriend of mine. It was just a random guy I posted with.
Oh.
However, these girls saw it and were like, we need to let her know. And so they sent me this voice memo of a bunch of girls laughing, tee-heeing, and they're like, your boyfriend literally shit in my bed. And I was like, okay, like not my boyfriend, number one. But also number two, like that was kind of like dirty for you to do him like that.
It's also like weird energy. Like you guys all got together. It's giving like,
and they were laughing like hysterically. And I was just like, ew, like it just gave me such icky, like kind of mean girl vibes too. It's like, that's not even my man.
The point more so though was like to make you feel like shit, which like again, that kind of energy is weirdo energy.
Has this happened to you a lot where I feel like girls kind of slide in the DMs? It's very confusing because it's hard to explain. That there's a certain vibe you get when you get a DM and you're like, you're not looking out for me. I can sense that like, you're kind of like a hater and you're wanting me to feel some type 100%. Of way about this.
It's also when people will like send you your own Reddit thread, which I haven't read Reddit, let me tell you this, in 3 years. I won't look at it. I don't go to it. If you're watching this and you're say whatever the fuck you want, like you're literally wasting your breath. I don't read it.
I've come to a lot of peace with the whole Reddit thing before. Never used to say the R word.
It's a fan.
And it is.
Fan energy.
Those people care more about me than the people who actually follow me to like
100%.
I could post something and I swear to God, within like 10 minutes, it's like, what are they talking?
And I never talk about this on my social media because it's like giving light to something, right? Like, so I just don't even give light to it because to me, it's like a dark hole in the internet of like pathetic losers and they're like under a bridge somewhere, like trolls. But here's the thing. Every now and then you'll get that DM from someone that's like, I can't believe someone said this about you. That's so not true. And you're like, bitch, fuck you. Like you're reading that.
I have gotten DMs so many times. It's like, hey, sorry. Like I was just like lurking on Reddit. And then like, I just came across this and I feel like you should know about it. And it's like, whoa. I actually don't need to know about it because
you also just outed yourself. I started my year this year, January 1. And I said, I just want you guys to know because I fear I've been a little too nice.
Yeah.
And I said, I just want everyone to know, like, if you come into my DMs and you have anything negative, not negative, like constructive.
Yeah.
Mean. Like, if you have anything like mean, evil, rude, whatever to say, like, I will post it. I will tag you and I will not give a living fuck about it.
I don't give a fuck because I'm like, I mind my business all the time. Well, see, I mind my business. I'm like, I live in a hole until somebody like causes me to come out of that hole. And then I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm very confrontational whenever I am given the chance to. And I feel like I need to protect my peace. So I don't do that shit.
I have to, but I warn people and I'll tell you what, a lot less DMs.
Has it gotten better?
A lot less DMs.
See, I feel like for the most part, my DMs aren't usually too bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. Depending on, I feel like when it comes in waves.
It's just like, come at me. I dare you.
And it's like, and then as soon as you post it though, people are like,
I can't believe you would dox me. I'm like, oh, sent this from your real account.
The doxing?
It's always like Jesus lover, mom of 4, like, or kindergarten teacher every time.
I give you so much credit for like being a mom on social media because the fucking mom shaming is, I get animal shamed all the time with my pets. And I'm like, these bitches are on 4 legs, can't even talk, don't even. I cannot fathom. I'm always like, I'm so scared for the day that I bring a child into this earth because
that's
naturally this is my job. It's like you want to post about him. It's your kid. You're proud of him. But then it's like the shaming that goes on is absurd.
Here's the thing though. You reach a certain level of like emotional intelligence when you realize that when you're shitting on me, it's really about you.
Oh, it's definitely
like if you're here saying like, you never do this or you're bad at this, like all you're telling me, all you're doing is pointing arrows and a neon sign to the places that you're insecure and you feel like shit about yourself. You're not talking about me.
That's what my therapist says.
So like, just, I guess like that's good self-awareness. If you send like a mean text or a mean DM or like you leave a comment on TikTok, like, babe, all you're telling me is that like this is where you struggle and we wish you well.
Yeah. I feel like you kind of get, especially now, I feel like you're probably have come to terms with this stuff like a lot earlier you had to. I feel like now I'm kind of coming into terms with it with like, people are going to talk. People are going to, I've almost feel like I've become a better person through people being so awful to me on the internet. I've learned to be so much more understanding with people. I'm way more about the kind of like peace of mind these days. Like
that's why I respect you and like you so much, because I feel like you are unapologetically yourself. And I think that those are the type of people that I gravitate towards, because people are always going to dislike you. You can be the juiciest peach in the world and there's going to be somebody that doesn't like peaches. So at the end of the day, at least like you go down swinging. Like at least you're like, if you don't like me, I'm me.
Right.
Like the worst thing I think that can happen is like you sit out there and you try to appease everybody else and you're not yourself. People are still not going to like you.
And that I learned that
you're
the
living
hard way.
like unauthentically and people still hate you. So what's the point? Like who are we helping?
Before like Reddit existed or like did Reddit, was there like there's like other OG like forums where they would like talk
I won't even
shit,
mention
right?
the other one because it's so atrocious, but like, yeah. You know
Right?
what, one day,
Because I was
one
like,
day when I've amassed like enough money, I'm coming after all you motherfuckers.
I always say
Should
that.
we pool our resources?
Well, I like used to go back and forth with this one influencer because she was like always like trying to do like law stuff with her Reddit page and all of that. And then I remember there were so many times where I was like crying to my manager about it. And she's like, she's been here for a minute. She's like, girl, she's like, this has always been a thing. Like it's not before it was Reddit, it was this or it was that. Like
it's like it's so easy to find out who people are though.
People
it's
are
like,
so
I know
dumb.
where you work.
I found out the Yamas girl.
I know your dog's name. Like, trust. I'm going to knock, bitch.
Do you think I'm dumb? Like, do you think I do fear that people think that I'm stupid sometimes. I'm like, this one girl.
That's okay. I think it's better to be underestimated.
That's true.
Hot take.
Well, you can't let anybody see your cards. I think sometimes people are all talk and they'll be saying too much online and stuff like that. I'm like, keep it to yourself until there's a point. Like I've been doing this, like I've been in this like lawsuit thing lately. I've been like trying to, long story short,
Wait, what? Roll it back.
You know how we said
I fear I missed a chapter.
You know how we were talking about earlier about I met that girl at Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Whatever. A lot of just like bad stuff came from it. And long story short, she let my cat out of my house and then it caused this huge, it was just so messy.
My mom, who's one of the wisest people I know, always says, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's sad, but it's true. Like it's so sad. You go out of your way to do something really nice where you're genuinely not benefiting anything. It always comes back to bite you in the ass. Like that sucks.
And people, I think it's so easy with having a social media following for people to like, it's so easy to get people to hate on you and like rally people up because they're always voting for the underdog. That's like, we know that people are always for the underdog. So anyone could get on there and say anything they want, any experience they have with you.
Yeah.
And whether your reaction was like warranted, you're always going to look like the bad guy too. I think,
100%.
which is upsetting. Is like, I could go back and forth with these people that did me dirty all day online, but because I have a presence and my life is documented on social media, it's very easy for people to feel like they know who I am. But the thing is, it's people, you don't have to worry about people like me who are themselves online and being annoying and obviously give people a lot of ammo against me to not like me, but it's not me you need to worry about. It's the ones that have the picture perfect, clean online presence.
100%. You also tell your own narrative though.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's something like really powerful about that because I like to call it the Eminem effect. Like there's nothing someone can say about you that you haven't said about yourself.
That is also true. I try to be very aware, even though sometimes
That's like some 8 Mile shit right there. That's probably like before your time, but
I've never saw. I know.
so
Yeah, I've never seen
basically
it.
there's this scene where he does like this entire rap and he's doing like a rap battle and the guy's like, he goes first and instead of like talking shit about the other guy, he just like says all the stuff about himself that the guy could possibly say. And the guy has no shit to talk.
He's like sitting there like this.
When you show up on a TikTok and you're like, I shit my pants, like what is somebody going to say? Like they have nothing else left to say.
That's the other thing. Like people are like, you're annoying or this and that. It's like, tell me it's actually something that I don't know.
You're taking that power away from them though by like embracing that narrative.
But the thing is, it's like, I also have realized, I've been there. I just feel like I feel like Kylie Jenner. I've been realizing things this year. But no, like
honestly, it's because Mercury's in the microwave right now.
That's exactly what it is.
So back to your boyfriend right now.
Back to my boyfriend.
Are we feeling like super solid about it? Did you have to do any explaining? I actually want to ask your 2 cents on this because I struggle when I start dating someone new. I feel like there's like a level of explanation, and maybe this is me overthinking again, but sometimes there's a level of explanation that I feel like I need to give them. Like my life's a little different. Like if I post this or share this or people, like, I don't know. I feel like there's a weird level of explanation that I give sometimes. Like,
Always.
do you do that or how do you intro somebody to your world? Because like, for those of you guys who don't know, Kennedy has like a massive, massive presence. And so it is a different world. Like we're just a girl.
We're just a girl.
Girls, but like it's different
and
at
I
the
think
same time.
That's the hard thing is like sometimes, I get excited about stuff because, you are the person you are online, but you're still a person and that's kind of separated. So it's like, I get excited about things.
But
when
you're
I
like
meet
a person
someone
in a
new.
fishbowl.
Exactly. And then you're like, I want to share them. But if I share them, what does this lead to?
But do you tell them that? Like, what do you say to them?
I think I never really tell people what I do for a living until it comes up. Like I don't really mention it until it kind of gets to that point. Or if they're like, hey, people are coming up to you.
Yeah.
Like I'm confused what's going on.
What do you say you do though? Like they don't ask?
Usually I'll just be like, oh, I'm in marketing. Like if it's like a first date and I don't really know them, I'm like, I'm in marketing and I kind of leave it at that.
Do you really think they don't know?
Sometimes, yes. Other times I can tell that they know and they're trying to play it off like they don't, which
that
I
actually
find
pisses
so
me off.
weird. Like, why are you playing? Because then it's like, what are your intentions here that you won't? I have girls that do it that come up to me. I have guys that do it. It's like, what are your intentions that you can't just be like, I would have so much more respect for you. Be like, hey, I kind of know what you do. That's cool, whatever.
I tell Kirsten this all the time. I would 10 out of 10 rather have somebody come up to me and be like, hey, like, I really like following you, whatever. I will embrace you. I'll give you a hug. I would love to have a conversation with you. If you sit there and you're weird or you like pretend to take a picture, or the other day I was at the bar and this girl, I see her next to me and she's like typing on her phone. She's like, Courtney Shields is standing next to me at the bar. I'm like, don't be weird.
You're like, do you think
hi.
I don't know? Like,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. I was saying this to Henry. I was like, people are such terrible actors and they think that they like are pulling the wool over my eyes. I've had so many interactions with girls, even just being like, oh, and like they're asking questions that you
like, so what do you do? Yeah. And you're like, I know you know.
And they're pushing and I'm like, why are you trying to get me to
I think it's an ego thing. I think it's like people don't want to seem
like fans or
cool or like fans, but I actually think it's
way worse.
I think it's cooler to be like, hey, I mean, fuck, like think about how I started this episode today. Like I was like, hey, I love following you. Like I watch all of your content. Like that is cooler because you don't have an ego to sit there and be like, hey, so I didn't know who you were, but I thought like people said like I should invite you on the podcast. Like imagine.
I know, that's what I mean. And I feel like that's a lot of the energy that I do think that I see. I think it's kind of half and half of girls that come up to me, or, the taking pictures and doing like the little picture.
They're like taking a picture of their friend.
And you're like, dude.
It's like standing directly in front of you.
You're like, I can like see the way you're doing the angles. Like I'm not stupid. And I think that just gets me sussed out because I'm already so paranoid.
It's uncomfortable.
Yes. And social media has made me so paranoid too that I'm like,
same.
Are they taking this picture and they're going to post it somewhere and be like, and they could just make up anything. They could just get on there, post. Oh, I was at the bar with her and she was so annoying and she just like was trying to make everything about her.
People can say anything they want to say. That's the shitty thing about the internet. Like I said this the other day, you can say whatever you want to say. It doesn't make it true though.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't give it validity just because you said it. Sorry.
How long have you been in Austin?
I grew up here.
Oh, okay.
So I was born in Manhattan. I moved to California for like 6 months. My dad was in tech and then moved here when I was like 2. I went to school in Boston. I've lived in LA. Like I've lived all over, but I grew up here like for forever.
Damn. So you've really seen Austin change.
Wait, so do you tell, we're like, this is like two ADD people having a conversation. Do you tell your boyfriend, like, do you say like, my life's a little weird? Like,
yeah, definitely. Okay. I mean, that's always, it ends up coming up. I feel like by the time I go on like a second date that it's like, hey, so, if it even makes it to the second date, usually it's like, oh, we even get there.
Go.
Yeah, you got to go. Cause I feel like very early on, I'm kind of good at getting a good, decent read on somebody, right? Like, or sometimes I think
this job gives you that though too.
Oh, you have so much like, I guess, I don't know if it's like emotional intelligence you start to gain.
It is.
I think from constantly getting other people's perspectives and point of views and always being worried about perception, you have a way better idea.
Hyper aware too.
Yes. Hypervigilance. Like
there are a lot of energy vampires. Like the amount of times I was talking to a girlfriend the other day and she said, we're talking about how I had like trust issues about something. And she was like, well, where do you think that comes from? Because there really haven't been, like I've had messed up stuff happen in relationships, but it hasn't been, I have like had weird cheating things, but it hasn't been like that crazy, that stuff. I think a lot of my trust issues are actually from like friendships and like people backstabbing me. I realized. I
want to have no friends. I always say that. I'm like, sometimes, even people make comments, oh my God, you don't hang out with enough people, or you don't go out and you're only ever with a boyfriend, or you're only with the same two people. I don't want friends because I don't trust people.
It's hard.
I don't want to let people into my life. It's like you're already letting just like the outside world comment so much on you or whatever. I don't need anybody in my life who I would be sketchy about or not trust what they're saying. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that want to come into your life. They want to be a part of it. They love it. They like being seen. Like I'm sure you probably
people
see it
for
so
the
many
wrong
times.
reasons.
Yeah.
But I think it becomes easier and easier to spot that. Right now, I'm grateful. I feel like I have the best friends, but it's a very close circle now. And I went through, especially like so much in my 20s, I went through like a lot of really bad, like situations where that was not the case.
Right.
And a lot of like kind of traumatic stuff for people where they were using you or backstabbing you or whatever it was, right? Like at the time it could have been for like Dallas Cowboys football tickets. And then it was because like, oh, then you have like some level of like social status and clout and then people want that. And it becomes really easy to spot. And I think I feel like good friends are essential to life. I really do. Like, I think however that looks, like you will find your people for sure. Like that can take time. It took me time, but I do think it like actually really enriches your life. It just takes finding the right people.
Did you,
and it's hard
with your friendships, being, on like the whole OG thing and like, did you go through times in your life where you were close to other people that were on socials?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, did you have like eras of?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had situations like that and it was like big public falling outs and like, I didn't do anything wrong. And like later other stuff came to light, but like you get painted a certain way and it's like really disheartening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like I spent a lot of my career like trying to take the high road instead of like speaking out about things. And as much as like I was raised like low key to turn the other cheek, right? It was always like, be the bigger person. Like it all comes out in the wash, turn the other cheek. And then it kind of got to a point where, like I said earlier, I felt like I'm being too nice. Like I'm letting you off the hook and I didn't do shit wrong. And you know what? Like I actually have receipts and there's nothing that you have because I didn't do anything. And so I think like I sort of got a backbone somewhere along the way. I would say like in the past 2 years, honestly, like it took me a while, but I feel like I got a backbone in that sense where it's like, I'm kind of done like allowing people to paint me in a light that I know isn't true. And the people that are in my life know that. But like it gets to a point where it's just actually not okay for you to like go around and say stuff. And I am going to stand up for myself. And if you still want to come at me, like by all means, let's go.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Bring it.
I feel like once you start setting that boundary with people, you'll definitely see people start to respect you more. You'll realize people stop talking about, like, there's been friends that I had to set a hard boundary. It's like, I know you love to talk shit about everyone and everything, whatever, but you're not going to do that to me. Like if I'm going to be, I'm not going to be that dumbass friend who sits back and watches and allows you to. No, it's not. You're my friend.
People treat you also like how you allow them to treat you.
Yep.
And you either will not be in my life or you will respect this relationship. And if you can't do that, then you won't be in my life. And that's just how it is. You recently talked on one of your podcast episodes about like a falling out with a friend. What happened?
Long story short, I think outgrowing people is just like
natural.
So natural. And I think with social media and all of this stuff, it just adds so many different perspectives to it. And you see different sides of people. And I feel like me and this friend were the same age. However, I feel like we were on two totally different.
I know who this is. Right?
Yeah. We were just like,
have you said it or no?
I don't think I made it like very clear, but
it's obvious.
I think it's pretty obvious. People know who I'm talking about. And even though we are the same age, I think there's just a lot of differences. My job has caused me, even though people love to be like, oh, social media is not a real job. I think people underestimate social media as a job, which I get that because you don't get to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You don't know how much goes into it.
We're incredibly blessed.
Yes.
And I love this job. I'm so like grateful and thankful for it. That never gets lost on me. And it's a job and it's a lot of work. And there's more that goes into the behind the scenes than
all things can be true at once.
That's also like saying like marketing isn't a job.
Right. I mean, because it is, you're marketing yourself.
Right.
And it's like the amount of people, even in this room, the amount of people that are standing behind us.
Totally.
To
like it takes a village.
It does. It really does. And I think I've had to grow up kind of fast because I went from living at home with my family to just like moving to Austin. I didn't really go to college. I went to community college for 2 years. So I didn't have a lot of those experiences, I guess. I was just straight into like paying my bills and, do work. Essentially work. And I think I've had a lot of friends. It's hard finding friends my age who have had to be adults because at 24, you still meet a lot of people their parents are paying for things or we're just in different places in our lives. And I think that was a big thing. I also found out that, they were trying to do social media behind my back.
Oh,
and
which makes you feel used real quick.
Very quick.
Like I have had that situation. sucks.
It's contacting my management behind my back, like not telling. That was where I was like, wait, this is
chills.
No, that's a no-go for me. It's like, especially, you know her because of me. Like, you know that my manager is like my sister, my best friend, my mom. She's so many things to me. That's like, you really didn't think that was going to get back around to me. I don't know. I just found that so distasteful because we had not really been close when I found out that happened.
It would also be so different if someone came and said like, hey, you know what? I'm like feeling like really inspired by what you do. I think like this might be something I'm interested in doing. Like that type of conversation is really different than all of a sudden like popping up and being like, I also find that when people do that, they not only use you and like the, I guess, relevancy or like traction or followers or whatever that you like give to them, but it also will be things like, hey, like I'm going to get ready, like to go to Kennedy Eurich's house, like at Kennedy Eurich. And you're like, fuck.
You're like, wait, we actually might have found ourselves in a situation.
Yeah.
And that's definitely kind of what it was like when I found out that they had hit up my manager. And like, I was like, okay, like obviously was going to get back to me. And we weren't very close at the time. It just felt very icky and then snaky. And then when I found out, like you could have came to me. And
again, like in a way where, hey, do you have advice or 2 cents? Or I'm feeling inspired. I think I might want to do that. Like,
and asking advice from my management seemed so crazy because like, respectfully, what the fuck does she know about making content? My manager doesn't know about making content. My manager's purpose is after people have built themselves up and create their own brand and they're realizing I can do other things with this. Then they go off and get management and they get the help to then monetize it.
Of course.
It's like
take it to the next level.
You take it, like her job is to take it to the next level. You are responsible for building your own stuff. So I just felt like he didn't have a platform or anything. And I thought it was kind of weird that he was trying to get like advice from her, but I know he was more so looking probably for like a free handout of, oh, here's some deals. I can help you out or I can throw you some deals. And it also just felt
he wanted to get on her radar.
Yes. And it felt a little offensive just because the way that in which he was speaking about it seemed very much like quick money. Like
he thought it was easy. Yes. That's my other big pet peeve when someone will be like, oh, hey, like I think I'm going to just like become an influencer. And I'm like, wait, hold on. So first of all, that's really just actually not how it works. And it's not like you're going to do this for a month and then like go pay your bills, which by the way, whenever people ask me, cause I do think that if you are genuinely yourself, there's room for everybody in this world, right? Like not in a like go befriend someone and then like stab them in the back. But like, if you're listening to this podcast and you genuinely like want to create content, I would encourage you to do that. I think there's like absolutely room for everybody, but I would say, do it for the right reason.
Don't do it thinking you're just going to get this paycheck.
If you're doing this to make money, you're fucked.
And you're going to be miserable too.
Yes, because you don't have like the heart behind it. I started doing this because I was obsessed with makeup. I loved helping people. I was literally working at Nordstrom, at the counter at Nordstrom, like doing people's makeup. And I became that friend for all of my friends where they would text me and say like, hey, I'm in Ulta, I'm in Sephora. I'm going on a date tomorrow. I need a foundation to like, that's going to give me like medium coverage. I have oily skin. Like, what do you recommend? And I was like, oh, I got you. Like boom, boom, boom.
And it's so authentic. It doesn't come from a place of, especially at that time, you probably just didn't even know what social media could bring to you. You're just recommending things and you're being authentic. And then, you know, it's like,
I was doing it in real life. This is before I was doing social media. The reason I started it was because I was like, you know what? I recognize I'm providing value for people IRL. How do I like do this on a grander scale, like a bigger scale? Because now it almost got to the point where it was like referrals and people were asking me like a million questions and I didn't really have the bandwidth to like text the 14 people back that asked me for recommendations that hour. So I was like, wait, like how can I put this out here into the ether so that I can actually just give these recommendations and then people can go and find it in one place. And that's why I started doing it, because I actually wanted to help people like feel more confident, feel beautiful. Like it wasn't because I wanted to make money. I had no fucking idea you could make money.
I was going to say, at what point was there that transition of like, oh my God, like say you got your first free, because I always think about that, like how crazy it is when you just like got something sent to you probably for the first time being like, what the fuck? And then when it ended up turning into, hey, let me pay you to talk about this. And you're like, is this fucking real?
I worked for 3 years. I did this for 3 years without making $1.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely loved it. Like you
longevity
can't do
though.
that
Like
if
look,
you don't love it.
You wouldn't be here if you didn't love it and you didn't start it for the right reasons, which I think we're going to have a problem with a lot of people like in my generation that just started social media thinking, you know, we got to see everyone start to make money.
Like a money grab.
Yes.
Or they want the like quote, like fame of it or the notoriety of it or whatever. Like it's all about like, I want people to know who I am and I want to make money. And I think that genuinely, if you do it for that reason, you won't have a longevity because there's no staying power in that. There's no heart in that. Like that's, I think, a very like selfish kind of like self-centric way to view what we do. And if you do that, maybe you can do that for a hot minute, but eventually people are going to like see through that.
What's your biggest tip for longevity in this industry? Because I think that's super important and something that a lot of people don't think about. They're just kind of like, oh, well, we'll see where this ends up. And it's like, it's not that easy. You actually have to
be strategic
strategize
about it.
Yeah.
I would say some of the most successful girls I know that have been doing this the longest are the most strategic and the smartest. And look, at the end of the day, like it's our job to make it look easy. We don't share all the behind the scenes strategy on things, but it's there.
Right.
Not always, right? Like there's times you just get on and you're just talking, but like a lot of times, like when you think of the bigger picture, like the grand scheme, like there is strategy. I would say two things. One, evolve always. At first, TikTok came out and I was like, oh, this is like the app that like kids are dancing on. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, I actually love TikTok now, right? But like at the time, I was a little bit like, evolve or die. So that's thing one. Like you have to continue to evolve and be comfortable getting out of your comfort zone. And two, when it comes to being strategic, the no's are just as important as the yeses.
Okay. I was hoping you were going to say that because obviously like that's something that I've realized has been such a big part of trying to keep longevity in my career and trying to build a career out for myself that's going to last.
Totally.
That's something my management was really good on and teaching me like, it's okay to say no. And saying no actually creates exclusivity and it creates all these things that in the end, actually saying yes to everything, being seen everywhere, that's not always the best thing to do.
And all you really have at the end of the day is your authenticity and like the genuine energy that you put behind something. And from day one, I have always, when I was making no money, when I actually really could have used like the $300, I was still saying no to things that weren't in alignment with me and like what I wanted. And I think that even that's what led to Dibs is that, so for years I said no to so many people. It was like, hey, we want to do like Courtney Shields times blank. Okay. No, that doesn't feel right. Nope. Not the time. Patience too. Like being patient and actually like trusting your intuition and doing things when they feel right, not just trying to rush it and like get to the top of the mountain as fast as you can. So I said no for years to things. And then at the time I'd been working with Tula, the skincare company, for like 100 years before everyone and their dog was working with Tula. This was like back, I was like one of the first, I think 3 influencers.
Oh my God.
To work with them. And we really came up together. Like I was a baby influencer. They were a baby brand. We really like had this journey together. I pitched them years. And this is like literally COVID, probably like 2020. Years into my career, I pitched them the idea that, hey, like I have an idea. I want to put my name on something. I want to do it with you guys. This feels the most like organic to me. And I don't want to white label it, meaning like I don't want to just slap my name on something. I really want to like understand this from the ground up because I knew at some point I was going to want to do something. We launched the product. The deal itself was actually like not a great deal. And again, if I would have been short-sighted and like just been worried about money, not the experience, I might not have done it. I was more concerned about the experience and understanding like what went into creating a product and creating something that I genuinely thought that the people that were following me would love and want because it was something that I loved and wanted. And like creating something that you like feel the need for is going to resonate with the people that are following you because like they probably have a lot of the same like wants and needs and issues or whatever. Right.
And is that going into how Dibs?
Yeah. So I launched the product at the time. This was like Instagram was like a different world. They weren't like squishing your views and like it wasn't shit, but it was like the people that like follow you and saw stuff, like actually saw stuff. But it ended up being at the time, the highest grossing day in the history of the company. We sold $1 million in a day. It was wild. And so the co-founders of Tula reached out to me and they were like, hey, like we want to see what you're up to. And I was like, what am I up to? Like, what do you mean? What am I up to? Like, I was like, what is this email at first? I was like, what do you mean? What am I up to? And then I quickly had a conversation with them. I called my aunt at the time who has been in the fashion industry in New York, like for forever. I don't know if I actually shared this. I think I may have shared this publicly, like once on my Instagram stories, but she actually passed away like a couple of months ago and she was like the best. So shout out to Aunt Mickey because she was like such an icon and a legend. But I called her and I was like, hey, just got off the phone. This guy, this man like Ken Landis and blah, blah, blah. And my aunt's like, I'm going to stop. Like, you know who that is, right? And at the time, my dumbass was like, who? And she's like, that's the founder of Bobbi Brown. And I was like,
whoa,
holy shit. Like now I'm like sitting here shitting my pants. Like, oh my God. Like now I'm like so nervous for the second call. I'm like, hey, like, so humbled. And he was like the kindest, best, like, and he's now like one of my business partners, one of my co-founders, but that's how we launched Dibs, like from the success of that collaboration. But that took years of waiting and being patient and realizing that like it's actually not about making money, or like it was about creating something that I genuinely thought that people would love. Again, goes back to doing things for the right reason. And then like putting my whole heart in it and it going really well. And then it led to something. Like you never know what doors something is going to open.
Right.
Like one thing could lead to another, you know? It's even like, think about like meeting your boyfriend, like going out, like going to First Thursday, like that. If you weren't there, like you wouldn't have met him. Like one thing always leads to another in personally and business.
We always talk about that. We're like, wait, because neither of us even wanted to go out that night. Yes, neither of us wanted to even go out that night. And then we were like, and then something beautiful came from it.
Yeah.
But do you resonate more, do you think now with being a business owner or, you know, the influencing social media aspect of things? Because it's kind of a weird...
I will always be Hannah Montana in this bitch.
Yes,
like,
yeah. The best of both worlds.
Yeah. No, for real, both. Like I resonate with being an entrepreneur because I think that really is what being an influencer is at the core of it. Yeah. It just transitioned into something else, I think. And I still like influencing is still how I pay the bills.
Right.
Like I don't like make much. I get paid a very small salary for Dibs. I don't make much from that right now. That's again a longer play. And I genuinely love it. And that's why I work my ass off for it all the time. And again, it goes to just can't be short-sighted.
Also, I think Dibs was like insane how much it blew up. Like I think about like that first event was launching, correct?
That was how many years ago was that?
2022. It was 2022 when you had that event.
That next month, we actually launched Dibs on my dad's birthday. You know, my dad passed away 6 years ago. We launched Dibs on my dad's birthday, September 15th.
Oh my gosh.
This September will be 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. See,
so she's still a baby.
She's still a baby, but I feel like she's grown so much. Like from even like my first event, not knowing what Dibs was, to then I remember just like, it seemed like overnight. Like one day I was on my TikTok feed and I was just like, holy shit. I was like, Dibs, I was at like one of those events. Like I feel like it was like one of the first events. And I was like, I didn't even know what I was at the time. And now it just has grown into such like a beautiful, and it's probably so cool to see. And I think that's something that interests me a lot is being able to be a part of, but it has to be the right fit.
It has to be the right fit. And I think that that's what took time, because all of a sudden it was like, wait, I have an idea. Like I know what I want to do. And I didn't know what I wanted to do before that. Like I always had that like feeling inside, right? Like that intuition and that gut, like I want to do something. And I want it to be bigger than me. Like Dibs has never really been about me. Like I want Dibs to supersede me. There are plenty of people. If you know who I am, you know who Dibs, like what Dibs is. But there are also so many people that know what Dibs is that don't know who I am. And that's exactly what I want.
I think that's the best business play you can do. To like have the people that know, but I don't feel like you have to be like the face of everything.
Again, it goes back to ego. Like it can't always be about you. Like if you're in it for the ego and the notoriety, like you will, I think eventually shoot yourself in the foot. Like this is much more strategic to me. Like I want to just create the best products. I don't want like an ego boost.
And sometimes it just like backfires too. When you do make yourself like the face of every single campaign and everything is me and it surrounds you, then it's like, oh, if something goes wrong, everyone's blaming me. And then it,
totally.
I think you're at a good place right now with Dibs where it's like you're involved very heavily, but you get to like, not everyone is associating the brand with,
only me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good place
and
to
be. That was like the whole vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Do you feel like you're going to want to do something in the future?
I do. I don't know what, like I had started an animal pet care line and I had a mental breakdown, long story short, and was just like.
Is this the Cabo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's just it was one of those things where.
You have a whole episode. Do you want to tell people about your podcast really quick? Because you can go into that Cabo on your.
So I have a podcast called Dumb or Blonde. It just launched though. Very new into the game.
Your graphics are so good, by the way. I'm really like loving those.
So random that this girl like wanted to style me. This girl in New York was always like texting me, I want to style you. Kind of gained a relationship with her just through that. And then all of a sudden, when the podcast started happening, she started making these like random graphics for the podcast. Really cute. So now I pay her to make my graphics for me because I was like, damn, girl.
That's such a side note, but they're good.
She ended up doing it. And that, once again, that was like such a cool thing to be able to bring someone into it that like it was not intended for that at all. But yeah, it's kind of, I feel like a way just to, what I've seen is community is so important. And you're someone who, that. Like, I'm sure like a lot of the people who have been following you, there's probably been waves of new people, but you have a lot of probably core people that have been here since the beginning. And I think nothing can replace that. I always say, like, I look at Indie Blue. She was someone who from the second I started social media, I looked up to in the sense of she doesn't have the most followers in the world. However, when she started Lonely Ghost, very engaged. Everyone knows her brand or the people that are a part of her community are so dedicated to her. And she will forever be able, like, that's wealth in itself, is just having people be down for you like that and to trust you, more important than anything.
And that's why you have to say no to things. Because like the trust of your community is always going to supersede anything else.
Yep.
And the other thing that I wanted to say about longevity, I think, is just being a genuinely good person.
Yeah.
I think like at the end of the day, if you are like masquerading as something else, like it always comes to the surface. Just be a genuinely good person. Like, again, have those good intentions and have it come from a good place. And I think you'll always be okay, because like you'll learn and grow and evolve, of course, like as we all should. But it's not like you're ever like hiding something or, oh, I met Kennedy and she did this. It's like, no, like you are who you are all the time. And I think that's like a great thing.
I think that is one thing that thank God. Like, I
what
feel
you
like
see is what you get.
Yes. And I think at first it can be bad because people can all of a sudden like see something and just assume they know you, or assume they know how you're going to react to this and that because you put so much of yourself online. And then, you know, it goes back to like, well, I am who I am, and nobody can tell me like, oh, no one's going to be like, she's a snake ass bitch. She did this, this, and this.
It's the Eminem thing I said. It's like, you have always like controlled your own narrative and like said what you have to say about yourself. And so someone else can say the same thing, but you're like, yeah, I told you already. Like,
yeah. And what did you guys want from that?
And
yes. And,
you know,
I do want to ask you also too about, because I am so infatuated, just because like I said, social media is still so new.
Yeah.
That it's so crazy to be able to like sit down and talk with you and hear from the beginning of how it started. Cause it's just, you've seen so much, I'm sure. Like the comparison game. When did you first realize like, oh shit, like I'm all of a sudden, like I started this for me, myself and I, now, you know, I'm starting to compare myself to other people. And then kind of how, you know, I'm sure now you've come to a place where you're like at peace with it, where like, I can't be concerned.
I think that the way that I was raised had a lot to do with the fact that I kind of never tried to compare myself to other people. I think it's easy to look at somebody's engagement and be like, oh my God, like their views are so high. Like I suck. Like, do people not like me right now? Like what's going on? Like, is it me? Is it you? Is it the algorithm? Like, what is it? Like, I definitely have those moments. But that's less about like the actual person. I think the downfall of a lot of people is trying to be other people. Right. I think the worst thing you can do is try to be somebody else. And that's why I'm really mindful of who I consume. I don't consume anyone whose content is really anything like mine in a way, right? Like, and that's why I said, like, I watch all of your videos. I don't watch very many people's videos, because if it's something that I feel like is either going to annoy me or like, it's just, like, I'm really like, I protect my peace in that sense.
Right.
And, or like, I want to have original ideas. I want to like, I do think it's really pertinent to like think for yourself. And so if there's anything that is like even similar, like content adjacent to mine, like I kind of don't watch it, just because I feel like I don't want to be influenced in like my own thoughts. Like I want to be able to think for myself. So I kind of just ignore it, to be honest. And I think the best thing that you can do is like kind of stay in your own lane and like do what you want to do when you want to do it, what makes you, you. I think whenever I even see people like trying to do similar things to me or probably similar things to you. It's like at the end of the day, like if someone wants to follow someone that does stuff like me, they're going to follow me.
Right.
Like, girl, I've been here for a minute.
Right.
If somebody wants to follow someone that does stuff like you, why wouldn't they just follow you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, if the best way that you can be successful is to actually just be yourself, as cheesy as that sounds.
Right.
And I think like, if you're listening to this and you do want to create content, try to really ask yourself, like, what do you want to create? Why do you want to do that? Like, what do you like? Get to the heart of it. Like, what do you love about it? And do that. Don't ever go into it trying to be somebody else or worrying about other people, because I think it's like it's a slippery slope. Like it's the quickest way to have a like downfall. I think you edged us with something and you never let us finish this. At least I don't think that we ever got a follow up on this. You posted a TikTok saying that you were going on a date with a girl. I actually have been on a date with a girl, which I think people will like fall out of their chairs.
I knew that because when I dated Mike was like, I think Courtney, like I knew someone, he knew someone who used to date you or used to go on dates with. And I remember being like, no, I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, because it was, I don't even know what he said. If it was his friend or something, he like knew her separately and either saw you guys out together or something and was like, wait a minute, hold up.
It's never been like a public information. This is actually the first time I've ever said this anywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember like thinking about that. And then I was like, I never saw you ever talk about it. So I was like, I wasn't sure if that was like a secretive thing or if like actually Mike had no idea. Cause I remember like when Mike did speak on it, it was like kind of like, I don't really know, like up in the air, like whatever. And then whenever I was going on my date with a girl, that's so funny because I thought about you.
Really?
I literally thought about you.
I might like re-enter that era.
I need to know. So like, what was it like? Were you like going on consistent dates? Were you dating?
No, it was sort of a weird situation, to be honest. It was like, okay, I don't know if I can't speak to anyone else's experience. I can only speak to my experience. And so I don't want to like, this is when I overthink. I don't want to like fall in a hole somewhere and like have somebody feel offended. I'm only speaking about my own personal experience.
Right.
My mom will say like, oh, I've been boy crazy since I was 2. Like I've always just like loved the men. I love for better or worse, right? Like I've always loved the boys. 99% of the time, that's how I feel. In a blue moon, I'm like such an energy person. You can like meet somebody and have like an energetic, in my experience,
right,
like connection and just be like, wait, well, that was like something that was a little different. Like that was a little different than I have felt ever before, right? Because I would say every single one of my friends is like drop dead gorgeous. Never once thought about any of them that way ever. So it's like a very rare, specific situation for me, but I guess like possible. And it was like one of those situations where we started like just talking and kind of like texting and stuff. And then it was just not like a normal way you text your friend. So it's more about like a energy connection thing than it is like a physicality thing, right? Like I've never like just seen a girl and been like, oh, that girl's hot. Like it's not that. It's like this weird energy thing. And so the minute that I feel like we really started kind of like talking, it was like, wait, like this is not, and I haven't felt like this before. Like this is new. And I think like that was really different for me. And then I wouldn't say we like really went on like dates. I would say we just kind of like hung out, I guess. I mean, I guess we kind of like would go on dates. We weren't just friends, obviously. Right. But it was, I don't know. I think to be really honest, neither one of us had like, I don't think experienced that. And it was almost like there was no leader. There was nobody like really knew what to do. It was just both kind of like, okay, like this isn't like a normal, like they're clearly not like just friends, but I don't know what's happening. Like nobody knew what was happening. We were just kind of like going along with it. But I will never forget the time I told Audrey. So I was like, hey, like, I have something to tell you. I was like, this might feel like really random. And mind you, like all my content's like when a man, because like that is like 99% of the time
that is me.
That is me, right? But like it is on occasion, I guess, possible. So I like am sitting in the car with Audrey. She's laughing off screen right now. And I was like, hey, so like I have like something to tell you. I was like
I'm telling you, it's like
fucking uncomfortable.
The most nervous I've ever been was like before I went out on a date with a girl, during my date with a girl. Like
it's so uncomfortable because you know why?
It's so new. You don't even know how you're supposed to react.
It's like the first date you've ever been on. That's how it feels because I'm so confident when it comes to men.
Same.
I will say this. Like I know I'm good. I can banter all day. Right. I know I'm smart. I know I'm witty. I know how to flirt. I know how to go on a date. I know I'm good in bed. Like I know all these things with a girl. I'm like,
I was like, wait, you just like made me lose all my like self-identity right now. It's like, I actually don't know who the fuck I am when I like sat down with a girl for the first time. And I was like
so scared. Like, it's like,
it was scary.
It makes you nervous.
It was very scary.
So like butterflies, nervous. Like I had no idea. But I told Audrey, I was like, so, hey, like I have something that's probably going to really feel like it's coming out of like left field for you. And she's like, okay, like what? And I'm like, so I'm going on a date with a girl. And she was like, oh, cool. And I was like,
you're like, you take that very well.
Like, I was like, are you not surprised? And she's like, not really. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? And she was like, I don't know. Like, I can see it. And I was like, okay.
Like okay.
That was like the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
And then I FaceTimed her when I was getting ready. I was like, what do you wear on a date with the girl? Like,
same. Literally
like
all
like,
of that.
It's cool. Like, okay, I'm not dressing for the male gaze now. Like, what am I dressing for? Like, fuck.
Going out with a girl was definitely like.
So give me your experience. Like, how did this happen?
I went on Hinge. So I was definitely seeking out, like, I had known.
Were you curious? Were you like, had you found girls attractive before? Or was it just like energy? Or you just like hadn't experienced it and wanted to?
I've always found women just more beautiful and more fun to look at than men.
I mean, they are.
You know what I mean? Like objectively, women, there's just so much more to look at a woman and be like, when I'm out in public, I look at women more than I look at men. And I think that's kind of like a more natural thing in general, like girls to be just looking at other girls. Like when I'm out in public, I'm like,
outfit, the fit, like, it's all of it.
Everything. Like I'm analyzing a woman when I'm out in public, not men. So I think I kind of always knew that.
I mean, men are like, just, I don't know, like,
tadpoles. Like, it literally is just like, what's there to look at respectfully? Like, it's like, oh, you're cute, whatever.
Like, I don't like thumbs. I don't know.
And women just have so many more, I don't know, just so many more aspects. Women just seem so much more than surface level. Like to men, I feel like I just look at men. I'm like, okay, cool.
And that's how it started for me, by the way. It was the like emotional connection of it.
Yes. Like you were like, wait, we were actually kind of connecting and moving on from there. Yeah. Mine's, I too, like not to get, I don't know how unfiltered we're getting, but like when I watch porn, I was like, I'm always looking at like lesbian porn or like threesome porn.
Yeah.
With like a dude's in it, but like it's two girls in it. Right. Like so
it was like kind of your fantasy.
Yeah.
Like a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. So I was always kind of like, okay, like I know that I liked the idea of it. But I had no idea because I'd only ever gone out with men. And I had been very like real with the boys that I was dating that like, hey, this is something that I do not know about myself. I don't know how I feel about dating women. I've never went on a date with a woman, but I think there could be a possibility of me doing that or being interested in that. And I just want to be clear with you on that. So that being said, I finally felt like I was like at a point with my ex where we were like kind of done talking.
Which one is this? The one with the boat?
Yeah. I'd kind of dabbled with the idea. I knew that was something that I wanted to eventually, I knew I couldn't like be in a relationship or get married before knowing what that was like. So I went on Hinge, you know, I started matching with girls, but also when I started matching with girls, it's like, I did say bi-curious because.
Is that a weird thing when it comes to you like being on Hinge? Because mine sort of like happenstance, but it's like, was this people, I mean, girls love you because they follow you, right? So it's like, I'm sure then that's like going around a lot of group chats. Was that something that beforehand you're like, yeah, fuck it, like whatever?
Yeah, I kind of was like on the fuck it thing where I was like, yeah, I'm not like, and two, I kept like a lot of gay men. So I was kind of like very comfortable, I guess, with the idea of being like, I was definitely scared about like what my family would think.
Yeah.
That was like, I was like trying to be public about it without being too public about it, where I feel like, because people, like, you know, my family back home watches my videos where I don't know. I knew, and I'm from a very conservative town and stuff that I just knew that it would be like a question. Like everyone everyone would be like, what the fuck do you mean Kennedy's going out on dates with girls? So I didn't want to hide that part of me. So I kind of got on there being like, I don't really care who sees it. I'm kind of living my own life in Austin. However, you know, once DMs started coming in or messages, I started getting like, oh my God, I follow you on TikTok. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like, it's
you're trying to date like fan energy, obviously.
No. And it felt like they were trying to be, even, like every blue moon, I'll get like a message like that from a guy that it was like, okay, no. But, you know, from a girl, I was getting a lot more of those from girls. And it was very much even on their end giving like, I want to be your friend.
Uncomfortable then.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, I don't know if this is a safe space
it's like
for
not
me.
Sexy anymore.
No, it's just, it's absolutely not sexy anymore. So I had met one girl and that was like the main girl that I had like found myself. I just kept on going back to, I think it was a comfort thing. She was really amazing. And I had that talk with her, like our first date being like, listen, I don't know where I stand on my sexuality. This is something that I'm very interested in. I know that I'm very attracted physically to women, but I've never, people on social media, I think too, like are so quick to jump and make so many assumptions. Like I just
put you in a box or categorize you. That's why I'm always like,
I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to get
99% of the time. I like, dudes, there's the 1% of the time when like, that's like a possibility.
Right. And I think that's what I was scared of. I was like, I didn't want people to automatically put me in this box. And then, you know, if I did then go back to dating only men, people would be like, oh, you just faked it for views or you did this because people love to. And it's like, no, I actually could give a fuck what people.
Yeah.
I was very upfront with her about being kind of bi-curious because I didn't want her to like get this idea because she had been going out, I think, with girls then for a minute.
Yeah.
I didn't want to give her the idea.
Is she your age, older, younger?
My age. I'm pretty sure she's my age. But I didn't want to make her think like, oh, I wanted to let her know this is my first time and that I have no idea how I'm approaching this and this is all very new to me. But it ended up going
it's like
very
way
well.
More nerve-wracking for whatever reason. But if you could think back to the first time that you like went on a date with a boy, like it's probably kind of the
very
same
similar
thing, right? It's just like the first time of doing anything, it's a little bit
I remember
scary.
looking up, Googling like how to give a blowjob. I was like, oh my God. I was like, what do I do? Like I have a vagina. I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I don't know what to do with a fucking vagina. Like seriously, I was like, this is so like.
Which is crazy because like, you're like, this is my body, but it's
anatomy.
not my body. Like.
No, so that was definitely like, I remember like being in bed with her and I'm being like, oh my God. Like, I was like literally stressed, like shitting my pants. I was like, but it was like also exciting. It was all these different feelings. I almost
feel like someone has to know what they're doing.
Right.
Someone has to know like someone has to lead.
When you're both just kind of going into a blind. She definitely kind of knew more so. She was definitely the leader in that relationship, but she was still very also like, I feel like she was kind of new to it. She didn't seem very like, she knows what she wants.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like that. I think it was both kind of us kind of just being like,
Would you do it again?
Oh, I would do it again. Yeah, I would definitely do it again. I think it has to be the energy thing.
It has to be the energy. You have to feel it. So your type with guys is like mid guys, except Alex, we're excluding.
Alex, you're not in this
your
conversation.
Current man, but like your past type of guys, mostly I would say, because obviously we all date people out of our like type.
Right.
Type has been like kind of like mid ugly dudes that don't deserve you. What's your type with girls?
With girls, I can go two completely different opposite ends of the spectrum. I feel like I'm mostly attracted to girls that are more girly like me. Yeah. Like that's, you know, I don't know why. Like I think that because that's what I find so beautiful about being a woman. Yeah. I think that's what I love to see, just like a pretty girl doing, you know, and I think there's a big stigma around like if you like girls, you aren't like that or you can't be like that.
No, I would be the same.
You know what I mean? It's like so many people are like, oh no, if you look girly, you can't be a full, like you can't be lesbian. You're just like thinking about it.
So I think when most of the time it's like liking men most of the time, like for me, it's like if I want to date someone that looks like a man, like I'm dating the man. Like that's the point is I'm going to date a man. Like I like men
and that's what a lot
like
of girls
sexually
say.
And stuff. That's like definitely way more like where I go. Right.
Right.
But then it's like, so that's why with girls, I feel like it has to be like an energetic connection. It has to be like, I'm going to be like, wow, she's like really beautiful.
Right.
I guess like, again, this is just for me. So there's nothing like wrong or right about it. It's like, that's just my POVs. Okay. So pretty, but like usually what's like pretty to you?
Girls, I definitely like more of a girly girl.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like a little edge, like a little goth. Like I think the girl that I was seeing was definitely, she wasn't like goth, but she was definitely like a grunge, I feel like to her, like a little grungy vibe, but she was still girly.
Yeah.
Pretty, like, you know, did makeup, did their hair.
Yes.
That was definitely, I think, more of, I was like, oh my God, I would like want to date someone where we're like, we can like wear each other's clothes and it can be, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, there's that weird, was that saying the energy? I feel like when you like first, or like maybe could I be like attracted to a girl? There's like that weird thing, like, do I want to be you or do I want to date you?
You're like that in between. You're like, I'm like kind of obsessed with you, but it's like, am I obsessed with you because like I want, if I want to be you.
Style, like, do I like want to try that, or is it like you?
Or is it like you doing it? Yeah. And I mean, that was definitely a huge part of it. And no, I had a lot of fun, but then I think too, I was just so in my head about a relationship with a woman that like, I didn't know how to approach. And two, just being online, it just makes it so much scarier that like, what if this doesn't go well? And then she would get online and be like, which I don't even think we ever had a conversation about what I do for a living. Like, I don't.
She was probably like the most loyal one though of all.
No, 100%. And like, even
probably like the one person that didn't say shit.
No. And I didn't see her out. Like after we had gone out a couple times, I didn't see her out for a minute. And then we ran into each other again. And then it was just like, oh, we were back together. And like, it was an energy thing, you know? It's like when we're together.
You only talked about it in like one TikTok, right? Or did I miss more?
No, I think I literally posted like one TikTok about it.
I stay up to date on my, she knows. I stay up to date on your videos.
Because I kind of like sprinkled it in there being like, I don't know. Like, you know, I just didn't know how my audience would react to it. I didn't want it to come across like, oh, I'm just going out with girls because I want my views to be up or whatever. Because that's what people accuse you of that all the time.
I will say this, like in your defense, I think that anyone that actually watches your content realizes that like what they're getting is just you in real time. And that's going to ebb and flow and evolve because like we're getting like your real, just like, bloop, there's my thoughts. Like it's not, I've never once watched your video and been like, oh, she did that for, it's like a skit or like she did that for views. Like
the skits.
Like you're going to get views because you say some out of pocket shit, but it's not like to get
right.
views. Like I think you're down. Like you're down to be like, yeah, I will like share this about my life. And I know it's going to get views because you're not stupid, but like you don't do it for that purpose. Like I don't even think you have the ability to like not be you.
I do think that's a problem where it's like, I say things and sometimes people will be like, well, you said this one day and then now you're saying this. I'm like, because
I changed my fucking mind.
I changed my, I'm like, if you have not learned anything, like every single day, I'm like, I'm having a new whole thought process. And when I say things, odds are that when things leave my mouth and you hear me saying something, that's also the first time I heard it. Like I'll pick up my phone and just say things that I fear I didn't even think about. Like they just came rolling off my tongue and I'm like,
bitches are mad, post.
And so I don't think anything of it. So when people try to come back at me with like, well, I thought you said did it. I'm like, and guess what? I said that on a random Tuesday. That was my thought on a Tuesday at 4 p.m.
I like to say I reserve the right to change my mind.
Truthfully, though.
You should too.
Yeah. Did you ever hit a time where you were like, oh my God, like you were scared to evolve because you were scared of what people were going to say?
Or? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Primarily when I got divorced, people knew my ex-husband and me together and they liked that. It was giving all American dream. It was giving like, you married the Dallas Cowboy. Right. Like that's what a lot like, which was obviously not, you know, like not the reality, not my reality. But that was very much like what people liked about, like they liked it about me. Like I was easily digestible for people. I'll put it that way. And now I'm all over the map. Right. And that's why I think like I am a very like sort of complex, like I'm an onion, you know?
Yeah.
Like I peel back more layers and you're like, okay, like, great. Like she was married. Now she's divorced. Now like she runs a business and she's a mom and she like has all these things. And now, wait, she's been on a date with a girl. Wait, what? Like, I'm not easily digestible for people.
Right.
And I think that my confidence being myself, like pisses some people off. And I'm sure you can relate to that. I think like if you're not confident, seeing a woman that's genuinely like moving in confidence and secure with who she is going to piss you off because it's going to just remind you that you're not.
And I've always said like, I walk into a room being confident, not because I walk into the room being like, I'm the most attractive girl in this room.
Absolutely.
I'm so sick. No, I walk into a room like literally 10 times out of 10. The only reason why I have confidence when I walk into a room is because like, I know what I'm bringing to the table. I know my personality. Like,
Yes.
I'm very confident in who I am that I'm like, that's my badge of honor.
Same.
Like, you know?
And you know what? And I think that's the deepest place it can come from. The reason that I'm confident is because like, guess what? I had to have a personality. I was teased in middle school. I had a fucking mustache in middle school. Like I was like the Lebanese girl and people were like everyone was blonde hair, blue. Like I got teased because I had like a fucking mustache and my mom told me to bleach it instead of shave it. Thanks, Mom. I like still have beef with her about that. But here's the thing. And then I like grew up. Okay. And then I got divorced and I like fell off the horse and I got back on. And then my dad died and I fell off the horse and I got back on. And then like, I had to like constantly, like I have a chip on my shoulder. I had to constantly like prove myself over and over and over again. And like, I'm like a cockroach. You can't kill me.
Yeah.
So I will always like fall off the horse and get back on. And that's why I have confidence, not because of how I look. Period.
I think that's so important for people to hear.
And I think like, that's why I can like wake up and look like beat as fuck and go to the grocery store and feel fine about it.
Yeah. My mom, when she comes to visit me, she's like, I can't believe you leave the house like that. She's like, good on you. She's like, but I can't do that. I'm like, girl, but you can do that. It's like
You
such
can.
a mindset of like,
Exactly. So, okay, I had a blonde era.
Okay.
And like you wear it well, way better than I do. I'm just like a brunette. Okay. Like it's just who I am.
Yeah.
I like love a blonde, but I am not.
Right.
At
And that's
heart.
how I feel about like
At heart.
brown hair, red hair. I always am like,
You
I
look good
want
with
to
red
do
hair.
it, but I'm like, I don't know if that's who I am.
No, I love you blonde
You know?
because you're like, you can pull like the very, very blonde. Like if I was going to be blonde, I want to be that blonde, but like it just would fry all my hair off and it would be impossible to maintain. But here's the deal. I was blonde and I lost my voice. Like I was speaking, like literally lost my voice at one point and like got sick and then like lost it. I was out at a bar and I'm like, I'm blonde. I have no voice. I have no personality. Like I can't talk. I was like, I lost all my fucking swag. Like
Who am
guys
I?
were coming up to me and I was like,
Sorry.
like I had nothing to say because I was like, I can't speak. Like I was not resting on my looks. I was like, I can't speak. I am not myself. Like
I have nothing to
I'm
add.
going home.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'm out. Like I fucking quit. It's weird. Like when you've been through trauma, adversity, like whatever it is, like your personality, like you get real funny. Like trauma makes you funny.
It really does where I'm like, I think my friends that I get along with the most is because like Ford is so funny to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's been through so many life experiences. I've been through so many life experiences. Like, enough. You know, my age, I feel like I've seen enough. All I want to see, I don't want to see any more.
No more.
But
Tapping out.
it definitely does because then it just makes you have all these different perspectives. And I think that's something that a lot of people, they also can't take that away from me. People online are always like, well, what if this doesn't work out? You know, because I feel like somewhat early on into this, being my age, I feel like, well, what if this doesn't work out? And I'm like, well, at least I did it.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say. At least I did it. I experienced it.
I want to wrap on one question.
Yeah.
I want to ask you now for advice. Like, what would you tell people how to stay like currently relevant? Because you're obviously one of the best in the game.
Oh, please.
Killing it right now. Like give me, give me something.
Okay. Well, I feel like it's hard to I feel like this is like the student trying to teach the master something.
That's not true.
No,
It
really.
just is different. Two different.
It's just two different worlds. And I feel like with me right now, I'm going through a really difficult time where I don't even know what I'm doing, what I want. And I think that's very normal. And I think you kind of have to know that with this job, it's everything's always going to change. You might think you know yourself and know. I was more confident about who I was and my brand when I first started than I am now. You know, you add more cooks to the kitchen. Things just get kind of confusing.
Do you think that's the case though? Or do you think that you actually just have become wiser and you're more self-aware of like I think you're probably thinking of more things right now than you were then?
Definitely.
Like I think in the beginning when you don't know what you don't know, and it's easy to just like dive in and be like, oh, I'm just going to come on today. Now you like probably have more awareness. And so you're like you're seeing more.
Definitely. I think a little bit of both. I think like I said before, my manager, she did a really great job of kind of getting me on the same page as her and kind of knowing what to expect before my intelligence was even there. She kind of was like guiding me through it and walking me through it. And I think I learned a lot from her. And then whenever it was time for me to actually experience these things or start feeling these things on my own, she gave me like a good, I don't know how to put it. Like, she just set me up. She set me up nicely to like where I kind of knew what to expect. But then once it started happening, everything started happening. I was like, oh shit, this is why, right? Like she gave me like an outline, I guess.
Yeah.
But wait, I just lost my fucking train of thought. Advice. I can't fucking think.
Like what would you tell me or other people? Like,
yeah, I think the awareness, I think kind of having so many people tell me what I should be doing or what I should be thinking, it definitely had an effect on me, but also you evolve and you grow. Like we've talked about that what you want starts to change for yourself, and things that I thought I wanted before are not what I want anymore. And I think you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, that is okay.
You also have to be okay. I've realized lately of like, you're not always going to be the best and you're going to hit a plateau probably at times in your career. And that's fine. I think for so long, I was so scared of the moment where I started to hit a plateau. And now I'm here and I'm like, it's really not that scary. You know, like obviously I would love to pick things back up. And
it's almost like when your fear happens, you're like, oh, like, okay.
It wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. And I think I've had to learn more so recently, like doing what I want to do for me. And I think that gets lost in communication sometimes. And that's something that I struggled with at one point, was being like, do I want this or do other people want this for me? And I think just staying, honestly, I know, like we said, it's so cheesy to stay true to yourself, but really,
it's true. When
it comes to creating content, if you're not doing content that you enjoy,
you'll burn out.
Like even now, like I feel like I'm getting pushed in different directions and being told like, oh, you know, your reels, you know, do this as a reel and then we'll see and you'll get followers or whatever. And it's like, that's not me. I don't want to do that, you know? And I think I'm still struggling.
I think that's like your biggest strength though. It's
Hopefully.
like, it's that's not you. Don't do it.
Don't do it. No. Mm-mm. And I'm trying to.
It'll come back around too. Like everything is cyclical, you know?
It is. I always talk about that, how everything's just like full circle. Even, you know, I think we've seen it too with like cancel culture. Everything is so, I think we got to a point where everything was so, don't say this, say this. Yeah. This is what's right. This is what's wrong.
Totally.
And now we've gone to a point where people are so scared to say anything on social media that now people are just saying whatever the fuck they want again.
Yeah.
And you just see it go back around, or you see someone be the villain.
Then it's boring and you stop watching people because you're like,
you're like, you've changed.
And like, I've been guilty of that. Yeah. And that's the other thing. People used to say to me all the time, post-divorce, it's like, or like, you changed. I'm like, yeah, I got divorced. My fucking dad died. Yeah. My like brother-in-law died. My aunt, like, yeah, like I have changed.
You're like, things have happened.
And like, by the way, I would be a psychopath if I hadn't changed.
Yep.
Like if I lived that out and none of that affected me, like that would be concerning.
I think it honestly just scares people. Cause I mean, I just think about like where I come from. And then when I think about the comments I get saying you've changed, I have changed so much just based off where I have come from.
That's a good thing
but
though.
That is such a good thing that I actually have to laugh when people say that and they're coming at me in any way. Literally, I'm like, thank you. You might not see it and maybe you only see it like, oh, and that's the other thing. I'm like, people that only say that, I feel like only feel like I've changed financially. That's like the biggest thing. Or I've stopped, maybe I'm a little more brand friendly, but still not even, you know what I mean? Like I think
this is going to piss people off. I think the biggest difference between someone that is successful and will and can be successful and someone that will never be is your point of view and your perspective. If you are watching someone that you really like and you're like, man, they got their bag, like they're killing it. Like they are really like doing what they love in any career, right? Like they're successful, they're making money. I always viewed those people when I had no money. I viewed those people as an inspiration. I was like, wow, you know what? Like that means there's no ceiling for me. I could do that too, maybe. Like I'm going to find my own way to do it and I can do that. Those are the people that will always go out and be successful. You'll either find an excuse or a way. And if you're someone that's going to find an excuse, you will never be successful.
And I think energy, going back to the whole energy thing, it is so important. I think about, I'm really careful, I guess, of how I think of things now. Whenever you start to see other people blow up and stuff, it's so easy to be like, why are they doing that? Or why are they getting that opportunity? And why not me? Like the why not me mindset is so, I've realized that was like one of the worst things I could have possibly done to myself, is comparing myself in that way, being like, well, that should be me, or I should be getting that. Be happy for somebody else. And I promise you, I have learned.
Energy-wise, what goes around comes around.
What goes around comes around. And I now, anytime I find myself being jealous of anybody, anything I see on social media where I'm like, that brought out that little jealousy monster in me, I go, you know what? And you know, maybe I can do that too. That I'm going to use that as a way
to inspiration and motivation.
Absolutely. And that's changed a lot for me. Even like when my friends will sometimes, you know, have like bitchy things to say. And I'm like, think about that. Think about that. You know really hard for a second.
You know what though? You also, I like to say, you don't know what you don't know. maybe you didn't get an opportunity or you didn't get something because like something way better is coming.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's
even with like dating, with career opportunities and anything, like you don't know what you don't know. There's something really comforting about that because like it all works out in the end. If you're someone that's like putting out good,
right.
I genuinely believe like you'll get that in return.
I love, do you manifest? Do you like write in a notebook?
I manifest. So 2 days ago, get this. I literally wrote at the top of my notebook, swear to God, manifesting, ... good things are coming. I then walk into the kitchen a day later. Kirsten's writing on this notepad at the top that we like got in PR I've never fucking seen before because Kirsten opens a lot of the PR. It says, good things are coming at the top of the notebook. And I was like, where'd you get this?
You're like, where did you find this?
Like, I was like, I manifested this. Like it was like actually crazy.
I'm telling you, I truthfully believe like writing things down. I think there's even like a thing like if you write something down, there's a 40% chance more that it happens.
You can do it.
Truthfully, I was like, I know it sounds like everyone's just like, okay, and they roll their eyes, but I'm like, just take time out of your day, take 5 minutes, write things down, try to put out that positive mindset. Because I did realize like once I started changing my mindset and being more positive and not like in the past, I feel like I just was so easy to like talk shit or be miserable and just be like, wah, wah. Now I've really tried to change that energy and try to put out better vibes and better energy. And I think good things come from it. My life has been so much more peaceful.
You seem super happy. I texted you that the other day. I was like, you seem really happy.
And I've been at peace lately.
I love that. I love that.
Good.
Now, not too much of my girl.
Not too much of my girl. Be gentle, please.
Alex, if you're listening, I will come for you. Nobody be taking my girl's peace away. Okay?
Exactly.
Kennedy, this has been so much fun. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Guys, you can find me on TikTok at ken.eurich. You can find me on Instagram at ken.eurich. And you can listen to my pod. Me forgetting my podcast name. You can check out my podcast, the Dumber Blonde Podcast, on Apple Music, Spotify, all of it.
You almost can't dye your hair now, by the way.
I know.
We can't change it to like the dumber redhead.
I've thought about that. I was like, dude, because my spam account on my TikTok.
I do like you redhead, but blonde's my favorite.
I think it's just me, you know?
I love your second account.
The Dumber Blonde account?
No, like your, your
That's
second
how
account.
Literally came up with my name was like, that was such a brand. Like I never monetized on that account. That was my fun little.
You post like that account's like where you
That's
do
the tea.
Most tea.
That's the tea on that account.
Yeah, for sure. This has been so fun. We might have to do a part 2.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys for watching and listening to another episode of Courtside with Courtney. See you in the next one. Love you. Bye.